The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released in March of 2017 for the Wii U and Nintendo's newest console, the Nintendo Switch. Its take on the open-world action-adventure genre acted as a monolith for any games following it. Its ability to entice players to explore every nook and cranny was probably its biggest selling point. Every hill, every valley explored rewarded the player. Maybe there was a new armor piece, or a powerful weapon, a new shrine, the game's micro-dungeons, or a whole new town, or of course one of the 900 Korok seeds. Every turn had a puzzle that was satisfying to solve. With a climbing and gliding system that made traversing this world fun, and a combat system that was nothing to scoff at, Breath of the Wild was bound to inspire every open-world game that followed it. But then it didn't. Sure, the horse mechanic was similar in Ghosts of Tsushima, Horizon Forbidden West added in a glider, but neither took too much from Zelda's exploration. Both were trying to be their own thing. 2022's Elden Ring probably came closest with its navigation, but even then it was still trying to be more of a large From Software game, not a successor to Zelda. In the 6 years between 2017's Breath of the Wild and 2023's Tears of the Kingdom, very few vast open-world games truly tried at the new Zelda formula. As it turns out, making a vast and interesting landscape is a difficult endeavor. However, some developers realized these mechanics could work with smaller playgrounds as well. One of the most successful is the gacha game Genshin Impact, which at times has been described as an action RPG anime Breath of the Wild. Indie games like A Short Hike, Sable, or Chia take some cues as well, despite ultimately having different goals. But one indie game wears its Zelda inspiration on its sleeve, and then some, with similar gameplay, an emphasis on exploration, and references every which way. Lil Gator Game is a fascinating look at an indie development team trying at a Breath of the Wild. Scott Slucher began creating Lil Gator Game in 2020, then known as the tech demo Playground Hero. Soon after, Robin Burgess and Connor Quinn joined the team, eventually creating the development studio Mega Wobble. Over the next couple of years, the team chugged away. While initially funded by Patreon supporters, in 2021 Mega Wobble found a publisher with Playtonic Games to help fund development through the launch. The Patreon did remain open, but only for those who really wanted to contribute to the project. During the following year, Mega Wobble showed off their game at a few different events, including a couple of the Completionists' Indie Lands, one of Wholesome Games' Wholesome Directs, and having a demo in Steam's Next Fest. Scott Slucher and Robin Burgess even got married in the summer of 2022. And that's just lovely. Must have been a hectic time, too. During development, Mega Wobble wanted to ingrain references for things they enjoyed in a way that still complemented what they were originally trying to do. While many gameplay features were heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild, Scott Slucher also cited his love for the Zelda Oracle games. The whimsical essence of Lil Gator Game 2 was inspired both by the indie series The Frog Detective, as well as the outgoing Yakuza/Like a Dragon series. Games like A Short Hike and the Tony Hawk series were also called upon to hopefully build a sandbox that would be fun to explore. Mega Wobble wished to go for a more child-friendly tone, thus the dialogue borrowed inspiration from classic cartoons like SpongeBob, Fairly OddParents, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and Danny Phantom, many of which are referenced in the game itself. They especially found it a challenge to keep everything G-rated, making sure to remove even censored swears like heck or crap. While the three developers of Mega Wobble did quite a bit for the game themselves, they of course received extra outside help. Alex Slucher provided additional contributions to the soundtrack, and the key art was illustrated by Nasanivi Sanivi. They also relied on the publisher Playtonic, both for marketing and some development assistance when needed. In the end, Lil Gator Game launched on December 14th of 2022 for both Steam and Nintendo Switch. I'd heard about Lil Gator Game, for once, completely outside of any regular marketing. While visiting a neighbor, they mentioned this game looked a lot like A Short Hike, and I was instantly sold. I bought the game on day one and excitedly went through all of its offerings on my Switch. Lil Gator Game opens with our primary Lil Gator protagonist playing with their big sis. After choosing a nickname, they start playing a make-believe game with a hero, clad in green, that dons a funny cap. The game transitions to like 100 billion years later, where our little gator buddy is a bit older and their sister has gone off to college. She's back visiting for fall break, however all her time is being consumed by a group project for college. But she promised that when she came back, she'd play with her younger sibling like they used to. So the little gator concocts a scheme with their friends to create a game so big, so involved, so amazing, that there is no way their sister could say no to playing with them. Our Lil Gator Buddies game has two primary features. They and their friends have placed cardboard monster enemies everywhere to fight, and conscripted a bunch of other folks around the island to be quest givers. And they believe that by playing this game, they'll eventually get their sister to join, like when they were kids. And these gameplay mechanics are where Lil Gator Game is at its closest to Breath of the Wild. Very quickly, the Lil Gator learns to swing their sword, shield, surf, climb, and glide. The sword is naturally used to defeat the enemies. They all go down in one hit, bigger ones in a few, and crumble into confetti that the Lil Gator uses as a multi-purpose currency. Shield surfing is largely really fun. The Lil Gator can hop on their shield at any time and slide fast and far. They can even hop along the water. Any, and I mean any, surface in this game is climbable. Trees, cliffs, playground equipment, the Lil Gator can go anywhere as long as they have the stamina. Yeah, they also borrowed stamina from Breath of the Wild. And finally, and most importantly, Lil Gator Game took the best inspiration it could by giving the Gator a glider. And it feels truly liberating, gliding as far as the winds will take them. While most of these are very similar to their Zelda counterparts, they've all been slightly altered to emphasize exploring this sandbox. There is no health and no fall damage, removing any risk. The stamina meter is a lot more forgiving with many more ledges for it to recharge, and the glider does not use stamina at all, which was the perfect choice. This combined with the comparatively tiny island really helps guide the Gator around the island. After obliterating some monsters, excess confetti is used to craft a plethora of items. The Lil Gator can craft new swords, hats, shields, or special items. All but the special items are solely cosmetic, but I loved slowly customizing my Gator's style. The special items come in a couple different flavors. My favorite item was the ragdoll, which lets the Gator ragdoll around. There's no real gameplay benefit, but it sure did look funny. Other items like the rocks or the laser guns let the Gator shoot a projectile, which was really useful for hitting floating enemies. Or some like the balloons or bubblegum let the Gator float up for as long as they have the stamina. Questing is fairly simplistic, but it's where some of the most interesting events occur. Around the island are a bunch of other kids and some adults, many of which are around to help with the Lil Gator's game. Each usually asks the Gator to do something. Sometimes it's to give them a certain amount of confetti. Other times it's to go and talk to someone else a short distance away. Most of the time it's to go around and defeat specific cardboard monsters in the vicinity. Which is to say, the quest design is fairly simplistic across the board, but the dialogue with each character is so charming. Everyone is written so naturally. In short order, everyone is given solid characterization and a likable personality. The dialogue spoken is always witty and charming, whether the Lil Gator is trying to convince the cool kids to have fun, helping a little girl play with her mom, or being frustrated with some nerds doing schoolwork on a weekend. Almost every conversation brought a smile to my face. One of my personal favorites was when the Lil Gator was talking to the vampire. The ultimate goal of solving quests is to get enough people to the playground to hopefully convince the Gator's sister to join the fun. With enough participants and enough confetti, the playground is slowly transformed into a medieval town of truly epic proportions. Like seriously, it would be a lot of work to actually accomplish. Lil Gator Game is a very cute package. Mega Wobble made a very good decision when deciding on what gameplay elements to include. Navigation has just the right number of elements to be incredibly fun. Being able to climb anywhere feels great, hopping just before stamina runs out to get to the next ledge is very forgiving, but still rewarding, and being able to then jump and fly to wherever else is nearby will never get old. That being said, initially stamina is a fun gag, then immediately gets old. A truly wacky salesperson sells the Lil Gator a band that allows them to climb a short distance. And it's silly, until I slid down a cliff, and the joke turned in on itself to become annoying. Luckily, after finding the monkey 3 more times, the stamina gauge becomes infinite, but depending on how long it takes to find a salesperson, there might not be much game left to really enjoy having infinite stamina. In a game with worse writing, the quests would begin to get old. As far as quest design goes, it is absolutely nothing special. But the writing is so fun. The Lil Gator has such a strong, young kid energy, and seeing them interact with the various other park goers was a joy. They're headstrong but compassionate, and bring the right level of bluntness to every interaction. While completing the quests never got old, defeating the cardboard monsters sure did. The initial feel of them exploding and having the confetti fly into the Gator was satisfying, but the sheer amount of these guys is exuberant. About halfway through, I was only smashing them because they were on my way to the next quest, not because I really wanted to. Waypointing around the island never worked well. I see how Mega Wobble was trying to evoke Zelda, with high peaks in the distance to help draw the player to major quest locations, but it was fumbled in practice. The draw distance is too short, so any of these waypoints blend in with the orange-hued skybox. Plus, it's so easy for any noticeable landmarks to be obscured by nearby cliffs or the plethora of trees. Luckily, the island is small enough so that getting lost isn't too big of a problem, but I was really hoping to grow a familiarity with this island that never sprouted. Draw me in at any point in Hyrule, and I can tell you exactly where I am. Draw me in a spot in Lil Gator Game, and I'd have a little bit of trouble making my way back to the playground. The character arc the Lil Gator buddy goes on is very touching. The climax is a heartwarming moment where the Lil Gator analyzes their actual relation with their sister. It does a very good job expressing how people are complex, and how sometimes their words and actions may conflict with one another. And as a big sibling who also went off to college once to study a degree that involved programming, I found myself really relating to the big sister's part of the story. It's never actually addressed, but I also really loved how inclusive the game was. Our Little Gator protagonist is non-binary themselves, as well as a whole host of other park-goers using they/them pronouns too. It's never pointed out, everyone just uses everyone else's preferred pronouns. This same level of tact is extended to same-sex relationships. They simply exist in the world, it's not a thing to make a point of, it's just a matter of life. Finally, the game's vibes are great. I'm always a big fan of the oranges and reds of autumn, and Lil Gator Game is filled with them. Plus, the cel-shaded style of all the characters really works for the cartoony approach of the writing. I also really loved how the gator was animated. When walking on land, they have such a fun, derpy wobble, but when swimming, their movement is so smooth and they poke their head out of the water like a real alligator, which was really cute. The music is also a very joyful romp. Every piece is adequately bubbly and sets the tone in just the right way. I had a really good time with Lil Gator Game. Coming in at 4 hours to 100% complete, it was such a fun, short hike, a truly joyous journey with animal friends. Its short length is a benefit. The game is designed to never get old, and with such fun mechanics, very funny writing, a beautiful world to explore, and an appropriately bubbly soundtrack, it's hard not to enjoy. Overall, I give Lil Gator Game a cool game designer older sister out of 10. I mean, look, I just think she's neat. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know some other fun indie games I should check out in the comments below. One day I swear I'll get to Sable. I still have it installed, and I've also heard some really fun things about Chia. Hopefully I can get to either after I finish playing Tears of the Kingdom. If you enjoyed this video, maybe leave a rating, and if you'd like to keep up with what I'm doing, maybe subscribe. Or you can get a similar result by following me on social media where I'm at MarioWaith everywhere. Links in the description. Also in the description are 2 interview articles I referenced in the history section, one from IGN and the other from GamerGrin. Check those out too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.